Hello hockey fans and welcome back to another video. Since the inaugural Winter Olympics back in 1920, 7 countries have won a gold medal in the men's hockey competition. After all, during the last 10 tournaments alone, only 4 different nations have been crowned Olympic champions, with Canada taking it 3 times and Russia winning it 4 times. Whilst the gold medal is typically won by a juggernaut of the sport, and whilst there are several strong nations who have yet to claim the award, the most surprising winner in recent memory, and one of the most unexpected champions of the last 102 years, is the Czech Republic. Clinching the gold medal in 1998, the Czechs were somehow able to shake their underdog reputation, defeat Canada and Russia during the final games of the competition, and clinch their first ever medal at the event. But how did they do it? How did the Czech Republic defy the overwhelming odds stacked against them and finish the tournament as Olympic champions? Well, in today's video, let's take a closer look at the team's historic run and find out. This is the story of when the Czech Republic won Olympic gold. Now, in order to understand how the Czechs clinched the gold medal, we must first explore how their roster and their country itself came together. Before the Czech Republic even existed, the country we know of today was part of the nation known as Czechoslovakia. From its creation in 1920 to its eventual dissolution in 1992, Czechoslovakia had been regarded as one of the premier hockey countries in the world, having won 30 medals during their 52 appearances at the World Championships, as well as 8 medals, 4 silver and 4 bronze, during their 16 appearances at the Winter Olympics. However, though the nation had won nearly every international award they could, they had been unable to get their hands on Olympic gold. Thanks to the consistent success of the Canadian and the Swedish hockey programs, and thanks to the emergence of the Soviet Red Army team during the 1960s and 70s, Czechoslovakia had come close, but never quite close enough, as they had always been defeated by a stronger nation and fell at the final hurdle. Having won their 4th and final bronze medal at the 1992 Olympics in France, Czechoslovakia would soon undergo radical change both socially and politically, as the country would divorce itself from the Soviet Union and separate into 2 smaller nations in January 1993. One of these nations would quickly become known as the Czech Republic, whose athletes would no longer compete with their Slovakian neighbours and would represent their new country as their own independent entity. Since the Czechoslovakian hockey team had been filled with Czech-born talent, the Czech Republic felt that they could still hold their own against the juggernauts of the sport without their Slovakian neighbours, and were more than capable of competing for Olympic gold all on their own. Unfortunately though, their first attempt wouldn't go as planned, as the Czechs would finish outside of medal position in 5th place during the 1994 Winter Olympics in Lillehammer. Interestingly, the Czechs would end up playing Slovakia in the 5th place game and defeat their former teammates, despite Slovakia having the 3 highest scorers across the entire tournament on their team. Given that the Czechs didn't have a single player finish top 10 in scoring at the event, they sure could have used that trio's help, folks? Though they had been unable to secure a medal during their debut tournament, thanks to some world-class reinforcements and some once-in-a-lifetime play, their sophomore attempt would go much, much better. The next few years would see the Czech Republic rediscover their former glory and cement their reputation as a force to be reckoned with on the international stage. Though they would finish 4th place at the 1995 World Championships in Sweden, thanks to some impressive scoring from Robert Lang, Robert Reichel and Pavel Paters, and thanks to a formidable performance by goaltender Roman Čurek, the Czechs would not only win their first medal at the 1996 World Championships, they would take home the gold, as they defeated Team Canada in the final to be crowned champions of the world. Though they would be unable to defend their title during the 1997 Championships and end up taking home the bronze, despite having 3 of the top 4 scorers across the entire competition, the Czechs would soon find themselves at the top of the podium on the sport's biggest stage. So now that we know how the country and its hockey program came to be, how did the Czech Republic win a gold medal at the Winter Olympics? Well, As the world entered the year 1998, the best winter athletes from across the globe made their way to Nagano, Japan in order to compete in the 1998 Winter Olympic Games. Unlike more recent tournaments, the National Hockey League had allowed its players to compete in the men's hockey competition, meaning that many hockey legends such as Wayne Gretzky, Ray Bourque, Teemu Selanne, Pavel Bure and Sergei Fedorov amongst many others would take their talents to Japan and add some much needed star power to the event. In fact, the 1998 Olympics became the first time in NHL history that the league allowed its players to take part in the competition, as they included a 17-day break midway through the 97-98 season in order to allow its players to represent their countries at the tournament. This new rule would also help the Czech team tremendously, as it allowed them to bolster their lineup with such hockey greats as goaltending phenom Dominik Hašek, league legend Jaromír Jágr and productive forward Martin Roshinski, as well as veteran Peter Svoboda, steady defenseman Roman Hamrlik, and rising star Milan Hajduk amongst several others. Despite the plethora of high-end talent on their roster, the Czech team wasn't considered a legitimate contender at the tournament. After all, this was just their second Olympic Games since separating from Slovakia, and they had finished in 5th place back in 1994. It was highly unlikely that they would secure a place on the medal podium, especially since their perennial champion opponents were now overflowing with NHL superstars. That said, the Czechs had one of, if not the best goalie in the entire world, one of the best scorers in the world, and plenty of high-end talent both up and down their lineup. They knew that they could be worthy challengers and hold their own against the juggernauts of the sport. As the puck was dropped and the tournament began, the Czechs wasted little time proving that they could hang with the big boys. After a 3-0 shutout win against Finland and an 8-2 beatdown against Kazakhstan, the Czechs would suffer their first and only loss of the competition, as they were defeated 2-1 in a close game against Russia during their final match of the group stage. Having posted a 2-1 record during the opening round, and having finished second place in Group C, the Czech Republic would secure a playoff berth and face off against Team USA in the quarter-final round. Despite conceding the opening goal of the game during the first period, a strong performance by Dominik Hašek and 4 unanswered goals in the final 40 minutes of play would help the Czechs defeat the Americans by a score of 4-1 and advance to the semi-finals. Having made it to the Final Four, the Czechs would soon face their toughest challenge yet, as they would go head-to-head with an undefeated Team Canada for a place at the gold medal game. With them set to play one of the tournament's favourites, and with both sides having plenty of superstar talent between them, this game had the makings of a contest to remember, and thankfully it didn't disappoint. Though world-class performances from Hašek and Canadian goaltender Patrick Roy would keep the contest scoreless for nearly 50 minutes of play, the Czechs would eventually break the deadlock with less than 11 minutes in the game, thanks to a tally by defenseman Yuri Sliga. With the Czechs trying their best to hold on to the lead, and with the Canadians throwing everything they had at Hašek, the undefeated side would finally break through, as Trevor Linden tied the game with 1 minute and 3 seconds left in regulation time. As the final buzzer sounded and the game remained at 1-1, a scoreless overtime period meant that the contest would come down to a shootout. Though Canada head coach Mark Crawford would be criticised for using Ray Bourque in the shootout over high-scoring forwards such as Wayne Gretzky and Steve Yzerman, thanks to a lights-out performance from Hašek and a lone tally by Robert Reichel, the Czech Republic would stop every shot they faced, win the shootout 1-0, and take a 2-1 victory over Team Canada. So having finished 5th place at the last Olympics, and having entered the tournament as an underdog, the Czech team had just knocked out a perennial champion and had booked their place to the gold medal game. Thanks to their performance during the final contest, the Czechs wouldn't have to settle for silver. Just a few hours after their triumphant victory against Canada, the second semi-final match between Russia and Finland would take place, and thanks to a 5-goal performance by Pavel Bure, the Russians would win the contest 7-4 and join the Czechs in the gold medal game. With the two sides having already met during the group stage, and with Russia having taken a 2-1 victory the first time around, the final game of the tournament was expected to be a low-scoring, hard-fought affair. Once the puck was dropped and the game got underway, these predictions would prove to be true, as either team tried to take the advantage, but some strong defensive play and perfect net-minding from Hašek and Russian goaltender Mikhail Stalenkov would keep the game scoreless after the second intermission. As the third period began and the two teams tried to break the deadlock, both netminders would continue to stop every shot they faced as the clock ticked closer and closer to the final buzzer. That is, until 48 minutes and 8 seconds into the game, when veteran forward Peter Svoboda sent the puck past Stalenkov, scored his first and only goal of the competition, and gave the Czechs a 1-0 lead in the gold medal game. Having conceded the opening goal with less than 12 minutes left to play, the Russians knew that they had to kick it up a notch. Desperate to tie the score and force the game to overtime, the Russians threw everything they had at the Czechs. But Dominik Hašek showed exactly why he was one of the best goaltenders in the world, as he heroically stopped every shot he faced and kept the score in his nation's favour. Finally, after 12 minutes of fierce play and heroic goaltending, the game was over. Russia were unable to put a single shot past Hašek, were defeated by a score of 1-0, and the Czech Republic would win the 1998 Olympic gold medal. So just 5 years after separating from Slovakia, and after finishing in 5th place during their first Olympic competition, the Czech Republic had defied the odds, had defeated several juggernauts of the sport, and had just won their first Olympic gold medal at the men's hockey competition. Not bad for a sophomore outing at the tournament, eh, folks? Just to put this achievement into perspective for you, during Czechoslovakia's 72 years of existence, the country had never won Olympic gold at any point, yet the Czech Republic had been able to do so just half a decade after their country's formation. Talk about conquering your demons. If all of that wasn't impressive enough though, the Czechs were able to achieve this feat without a single player finishing top 10 in scoring, or even producing at a point per game pace over the course of the tournament. In fact, of the 20 Czech skaters who played in at least one Olympic contest, 8 of them scored 3 points or more, 3 of them scored 4 points or more, and not a single one registered a negative plus-minus. I guess scoring by committee does work after all. Not only that, Dominik Hašek posted an astonishing 5-1-0 record, a 0.97 goals against average, and a .961 save percentage, with 2 shutouts during that span. Well, no wonder he was named the tournament's best goaltender. The guy was practically unstoppable. Whilst the Czech Republic would be crowned Olympic champions and become just the 7th nation to win gold at the men's hockey competition, the country has been unable to repeat this success in the several decades since. Though they have won 11 World Championship medals in 24 years since 1998, and they have added a bronze medal at the 2004 World Cup of Hockey in Toronto, the Czech national team hasn't had nearly as much success at the Olympics. In fact, in the 5 competitions since winning gold, the Czech Republic has won just a single medal at the event, that being a bronze at the 2006 Olympics in Turin, Italy. Now I can imagine that many of you are wondering why. Why have the Czechs been unable to repeat their success from 1998 and regain their title as Olympic champions? Well, if you ask me, the lack of otherworldly goaltending and their overall hockey program being a step behind the other powerhouses of the sport have severely limited their chances of going for gold in the many years that have followed. Whilst the 1998 Czech team was able to work together as one cohesive unit and score by committee, let's be honest here folks, without Dominik Hašek and his absolute dominance between the pipes, the Czech Republic would have struggled to secure any medal at the competition, let alone go all the way and win gold. Sure, the Czech roster had plenty of talented, world-class players, but if Hašek had missed the tournament, had gotten injured midway through, or if he wasn't his usual outstanding self, it would have been nigh impossible for the Czechs to defeat Canada and or Russia in the ways that they eventually did. After all, they only just managed to do so, even with Hašek playing like a brick wall. Things could have ended far differently if he had taken a single night or even a single period off. Of course, Hašek did have some support, as the likes of Jágr, Roshinsky and Svoboda all had great, if not legendary NHL careers in their own right, but if you disregard their 8-2 beatdown of Kazakhstan, the Czech team averaged just 2 goals a game during their other 5 contests. That doesn't leave much room for error on Hašek's part, does it? Since Hašek was able to rise to the occasion, and he somehow averaged a single goal against across the entire tournament, this meant that the Czechs could score a goal or two, let Hašek carry the team on his back, and take home the gold medal as a result. If you ask me, it was thanks to Hašek, and pretty much Hašek alone, that they were able to achieve this feat, so he should receive the majority of the credit for their victory at the competition. Since the Czech team haven't had nearly the same level of goaltending in the many tournaments since, they have been unable to steal a victory in the same way as Hašek did, and win a game they had absolutely no business winning otherwise. After all, whilst they have certainly held their own against more well-rounded opponents, it's been difficult for the Czechs to defeat the juggernauts of the sport in a final do-or-die game at the Olympics, and take home a gold or silver medal from a more complete team that's better both on paper and on the ice. To my second point, the Czech hockey program being a step behind that of its more dominant contemporaries has meant that the country has struggled to compete for another Olympic gold when facing off against nations with stronger overall programs, especially when NHL players are unable to compete. Sure, the Czech Republic has its superstars like everyone else, and many of them are some of the best players in the world, but most of these skaters make the move to the NHL sooner or later. So if the league refuses to let their players go to the Olympics, the Czechs lose most, if not all of their top talent, and are then at a major disadvantage. Whilst you can certainly make the argument that refusing to let NHLers go to the Olympics puts every team at a disadvantage so it cancels itself out, the overall calibre of the Czech hockey program simply isn't at the same level as that of their opponents, meaning the vast majority of Czech players outside of the show aren't quite as good as the non-NHL players from other countries. Of course, that's not to say that these skaters aren't still extremely talented, but when you're comparing the Czech hockey program to that of the Canadians or the Russians, the Czechs are clearly a step behind, both in their overall level on the international stage and in the talent from their respective domestic leagues. And besides, whilst a hot goaltender or a strong locker room can help you steal a win or two, unless you have a guy like Hašek in net or a guy like Jágr passing the puck, it's going to be difficult to keep it up for 6 straight games against the best players in the world. Though they reached the pinnacle of the sport despite the overwhelming odds against them, and though they have been unable to repeat their success in the several decades that have followed, the Czech Republic's gold medal win at the 1998 Winter Olympics is something so unique, so rare and so incredible that we might never see anything like it ever again. After all, the team needed one of the best goaltenders in the world to play better than he had ever done before, some of the best forwards in the world to score at a decent pace, and the entire roster to play their part when called upon. How often do all of these factors exist at once, let alone come together at the same time? Whilst it may be a while before they earn another Olympic medal, and whilst they might never win gold at the competition ever again, thanks to the efforts of the 1998 team, the Czechs have already done it once. That's more than can be said for most countries at the tournament. And that was a look at when the Czech Republic won Olympic gold. What do you guys think about this unlikely tale? Are you surprised that the underdogs were able to win it all, or do you think the Czech Republic will clinch another gold medal in the near future? Let me know in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye! A big thank you to Drew Fawcett, Houston NG, and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further, and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.